All right, the appearance panel. Right quick, I did reset essentials, and whenever I reset essentials, it does one thing that I'd like to fix right quick, and that is go into my layer panel options. Actually, I need a new document, so I'll go to File, New. The defaults are fine. And from here, I can reset my panel options to other. I like to make this nice and big just so you guys can see it. It's up to you whether or not you want to make those. I find that the layers panel is just really, really helpful for understanding what's going on. But there's another panel that's equally important, and that is the appearance panel. It looks like, I don't know, kind of like a sun icon. You can always find it, of course, by going to Window Appearance. So if for some reason you don't see it, I'm going to go ahead and click the word appearance here and drag that out so I can see it a little better. And hide that. And just like with all of our panels, I'm going to drag my layers panel off to the left here somewhere. I'm going to drag it off screen, actually. I'll need it later, but... And let's just drag a simple circle or something along those lines. And I'll hold the Shift key to make it a perfect circle. Just a reminder that the stuff that we're doing here is not part of your lab assignment. You will need to do that on your own. I'm just trying to get you to where you understand your lab assignment. And we can see here the kind of attributes. Every shape has certain attributes with it. Whether it be a fill or a stroke or opacity. And you can manipulate the opacity independently of, so you can have like a 50% opacity of the fill, but have a stroke that's 100 opacity. And if you recall in the anatomy of the panels, that the panels tend to have very important icons here at the bottom of all of them. So if we look at that, we can do things like add a new stroke, add a new fill, and objects can have more than one stroke. They can have more than one fill, right? And that's actually really, really powerful. Not only that, you can also see what's going on with your object. So let's kind of take a quick look at what a fill, like multiple fills, can look like. And what I will do is I'm going to create a gradient from white to, I'm going to select this in the swatches panel. I'm just using the default swatches, so hopefully you will see this. So I'm going to click the fill, and then I'm going to click this little tiny guy here that says white to black. It's kind of hidden, kind of hard to find, but it's right there. I'll zoom out. And I want to add another fill. So I'll click and add a fill. And then I want to click that fill, and let's select whatever color you'd like. I'm going to choose a nice punchy red. But nothing happened. Mike, what happened? Well, obviously this fill is overlapping this fill, right? So we can see that if I click and drag this guy above the gradient, then now the red fill, and I can no longer see the white to black gradient. So I'll click and drag that back down. And you can kind of see where it's being placed, right? The mouse is showing you what's going on. So if I click and drag and I see that line right there. So what I need to do in order to make this effective or look different or even have any purpose to having multiple fills, incidentally, I could always just click this trash can icon and delete it. But that's not what I want to do, so I'll go ahead and click opacity. And each of these are like links to the various things. So I can change the stroke options, things like that. I'll click opacity, and what I want to do is change it. So I could just simply like reduce the opacity by maybe 30%, and we can kind of see what it does there. But you also have all of these blend modes. And the blend modes are actually really neat. I don't know if I'm going to cover them in depth today, as they're a lot more useful. They come to us from Photoshop. Originally they were in Photoshop. But this sort of determines how it blends with the layer beneath it, or what's going on beneath it. And they're grouped. So these three right here, they're all going to darken in different ways the layer beneath it. So if I choose color burn, which actually I'll choose multiply. Color burn won't do anything. Actually, it won't do much different because obviously color burn, it's not going to, this layer doesn't have any color, it's just black and white. So if I select multiply, we can see that it overlays that gradient. But notice that it didn't brighten the image any. Notice that it's only darkening that right side. I could select screen, and incidentally, this little grouping right here, these are all the brighten blend modes. I'll select screen, and notice that, okay, so screen, let's see, what I need to do here, actually my red is to, I think if I change it to make it darker, okay, that works differently from Photoshop. Color dodge, lighten. That's really weird. Well, anyway, and then of course some of the contrast blend modes are the next ones. Difference and exclusion, hue, saturation, luminosity. Go ahead and play around with those and then understand that they're grouped together. That works very different from Photoshop. I really would have expected screen to only brighten in the same way that multiply worked. Maybe this... do you have your gradient fill above your red fill?
Yes.
And then you selected opacity with the fill?
Yes.
And then change it to multiply?
I did.
And you have two fills, right?
Yes.
Which opacity did you put?
The one right above the red. You don't have the object now.
Yeah, it's only going to tell you the appearance for the object you have selected. Another really important option down here is the FX panel, or the effects panel. You can also get to that incidentally through up here in the menu of the top here, effect. So if you go to the top and select effect, you can see that there are Illustrator effects and there are Photoshop effects. And what are the, you guys remember the difference between Photoshop and Illustrator, right? Illustrator is a vector-based program and Photoshop is a pixel-based program. So what does that tell you about these effects under Photoshop? They are all raster effects. They will all create pixels. And notice that there's a stylized menu under Photoshop where you can do glowing edges, but there's also a stylized option under Illustrator where you can do outer glow. I'll go ahead and just, you guys go ahead and pick any of these that you feel like, don't do the 3D ones, any ones but 3D. We're going to get to those, and those tend to crash Illustrator, so they soak up all the RAM on the computer, and yeah. I'll go ahead and just select, I don't know, an outer glow sounds kind of nice. For some reason, whenever it has dialog boxes, it likes to uncheck preview. I wish that it just did it by default. And I might want to, in order to see this going on, I might want to kind of bump up these options, and I sort of am creating an outer glow here on the document. And there's that blend mode again. Why is it set? I wonder why it's set to screen. Oh, because it's glow. Yeah, it's set to a brighten blend mode. That's weird that it's set to black. Maybe I might select like kind of a red, similar to, let's see, maybe a dark red. Oh, there it goes. My computer's kind of starting to run a little bit slow. Some of these effects can really start, I guess that's why it unchecks preview, because some of these effects can really slow down your machines. And I'll click OK, and if for any reason I don't like what the settings that I applied, I can always check outer glow here inside of the appearance panel. It's just a link, and there's all my settings. Let's say I didn't like quite so much opacity. I might lower that to 25%, and then click OK to commit that change, and then I've lowered the opacity of that very slight outer glow. You can apply multiple strokes, which kind of can create some interesting effects. So let me select a white stroke, and let's bump this up to a few more points. Maybe 5 points or so. Of course, it's white, so it's not going to, you know what, just to save a little bit of time, you may not have to do this on your computer, but I'm going to go ahead and delete outer glow because every time I make a change, it's going to have to re-render that outer glow, which is going to slow us down a little bit. You may not have to do that on your machine, but because I'm running a little bit more stuff on mine. And if I select, I'm going to go ahead and click duplicate selected item, which is sort of like this down right here. And then I'm going to select a stroke of black. Of course, that's not quite what I want. So what I think I'd like to do is I'd like to take this stroke and drag it above the black stroke. And then obviously this stroke is being hidden by the stroke above it. So the black stroke is being hidden by the white stroke. I'm going to go ahead and select a much higher value for the point value. Maybe even a little bit higher, so I can really see what's going on. And we see what it's, you see how it's kind of created two strokes? Actually, let me go to the other side here where it's a little bit brighter. And I could always change, you know, let's say I didn't want this inner line right here. I could always click the word stroke and change how it aligns to the line. I think I can. Align stroke to outside. It won't let me do that. Why won't it let me do that? It should let me do that. It must not let you do that for multiple strokes. I thought it would. Oh well. Obviously, none of these options are going to change much because they sort of affect how paths intersect, and there aren't really any corner points in a circle. But these would change like how the circle and endpoints sort of interact. So there's two panels that you should really keep an eye on, and that's your layers panel and your appearance panel. They will help you understand what's going on. Let's see, are there any really important options in here? As always, there is a little teeny tiny, Adobe does love to put little teeny tiny icons. There is one right above here. So you have some more options in here, clearing your appearance, things like that. A lot of redundancy in the interface, so you can select things down here as well as up top. So things like that. I'll go ahead and stop the video.